poor nurse couldn't afford a dress. Then her patient's father asked, "Will you be my first date?" Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now let's dive into the story. Emma glanced at the reflection in the restaurant window, nervously tugging at the hem of her second-hand dress. The scuffed shoes she had been wearing for months seemed to make her feel out of place in this elegant, upscale setting. It wasn't that she didn't belong. She just didn't feel like she did. Not here. Not in a place where every guest seemed to fit in effortlessly, their polished outfits and confident smiles radiating wealth and success. She inhaled deeply, trying to steady herself, before pushing open the door and stepping inside. It was her first time at this restaurant, a place her best friend Jenny had been raving about for weeks, insisting that Emma needed to experience something new. The soft hum of conversation and the clink of silverware filled the air, adding to the sense of sophistication. Her heart raced as she scanned the room, looking for the man she was supposed to meet. Table 7, she mumbled under her breath, repeating it like a mantra to calm her nerves. She had promised Jenny she would give this blind date a shot, even though she wasn't sure it would lead anywhere. She walked past the other tables, her eyes landing on a man sitting alone at the back. He was dressed sharply in a fitted suit, his dark hair neatly styled. He looked engrossed in his phone, seemingly unaware of the world around him. Emma's nerves flared again as she approached him, her mind racing with awkward thoughts. "Hi, you must be Kevin," she said with a nervous smile, hoping her voice didn't betray her anxiety. The man looked up, startled. He blinked a few times, clearly confused, before his lips curved into a faint smile. Hi, Emma," he said, his voice warm but still tinged with confusion. For a moment, they both sat there in an awkward silence. Emma, desperate to fill the void, laughed nervously. "I know this is a bit weird, but Jenny told me you might be a little shy. Don't worry, I'll talk enough for the both of us." The man smiled at her with a sense of bemusement, but there was something in his eyes that made Emma pause. Maybe it was his calm demeanor, or the way his smile seemed to be hiding something. Before she could say anything else, the man checked his phone again. He glanced up at her, his smile softening. "Right, blind dates are something else," he said, as though realizing the situation was as strange for him as it was for her. Emma chuckled, feeling the tension in her chest slowly begin to ease. She asked him what he did for work, a conversation starter she always used to fill any awkward silence. "I work in tech," he replied, his voice quiet but confident. Emma nodded, trying to hide her lack of knowledge about anything related to technology. "Oh, that's cool," she said. "Like coding? Apps and stuff?" The man smiled again, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "Something like that," he said. They continued talking, with Emma doing most of the talking, while the man listened attentively, offering the occasional smile or nod. Despite her nervousness, she found herself relaxing around him. There was something about him that felt genuine, even though she had initially mistaken him for someone else. As the conversation continued, Emma couldn't help but wonder what had made her so nervous in the first place. Was it his presence, or was it something else? For now, though, it didn't matter. All that mattered was the unexpected connection they were starting to form, even if it was based on a simple mix-up. The next morning, Emma was back at the diner where she worked, still replaying her blind date in her mind. She couldn't shake the image of Kevin, or whoever he was. The way he looked at her with those warm, understanding eyes, and the way he smiled despite the awkwardness of the situation. For once, it felt like she wasn't being judged, like she was simply allowed to exist. It had been such a long time since she felt like that. She was used to the constant struggle of balancing work and the dream of something more. With her mom sick and the bills piling up, Emma had always found it difficult to imagine a future beyond the diner. But something about Kevin, Liam, as he had revealed his real name, made her feel like maybe there was more. As the morning rush died down, her phone buzzed on the counter. It was a message from an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before opening it, her heart suddenly racing. "Hey Emma, this is Liam. I know we met under some strange circumstances last night, but I'd like to see you again. How about coffee sometime?" Liam, Her stomach flipped. She hadn't expected him to reach out, but part of her had hoped he would. Maybe it was a sign, or maybe it was just a fluke. Either way, she didn't want to waste the opportunity. She smiled to herself and quickly replied, agreeing to meet him for coffee later that afternoon. At the cafe, Emma arrived a few minutes early, trying to calm the butterflies that had suddenly taken over her stomach. She sat at a small table by the window, nervously checking her phone for any signs that Liam would show up. As if on cue, the door swung open, and there he was. Liam, dressed casually in a gray sweater and jeans, he looked completely different from the man she had met in the fancy restaurant. He smiled as he approached, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Hey Emma, I'm glad you agreed to meet me," he said, his voice warm and easygoing. She stood up to greet him, her nerves easing slightly as she took in the casual, comfortable vibe of the cafe. "I'm glad you reached out," she replied, her voice softer than usual. "I wasn't sure if you were serious about meeting again." Liam chuckled and took a seat across from her. "I wouldn't have texted if I wasn't serious," he said, taking a sip of his coffee. "I had a good time talking to you last night, despite the mix-up." Emma smiled, feeling the tension between them start to fade. The conversation flowed easily, much like it had the night before. They talked about their work, their lives, their dreams. Emma found herself opening up more than she usually did. Something about Liam made her feel comfortable in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. She told him about her dreams of becoming an artist, about how she had always wanted to open her own art studio, but had never been able to afford it. "Maybe one day I'll get there," she said with a wistful smile. "But for now, I just have to keep working to get by." Liam listened intently, nodding in understanding. "I think that's incredible. You have a lot of talent, Emma," he said, his eyes sincere. "I'm sure you'll make it happen." Emma blushed, feeling a rush of warmth at his words. "Thanks, Liam. I hope so." As they continued to talk, she couldn't help but notice how different he seemed from the other people she had met in her life. There was no pretense, no judgment, just genuine curiosity and kindness. She felt like she could be herself around him. By the time they finished their coffee, Emma felt like she had made a new friend, someone who saw her for who she really was, not just as a waitress or a struggling artist. When they stood up to leave, Liam paused for a moment. "You know," he said, looking a little hesitant, "I've been thinking about what you said last night. About your dream of opening your own art studio." Emma raised an eyebrow. "What about it?" Liam smiled and reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out a small card. "I know someone who could help you get started," he said, handing her the card. "It's not much, but maybe it's a start." Emma took the card, her heart skipping a beat. She had no idea what to say. "Liam, she started, but he stopped her with a gentle smile. "It's just an opportunity. No pressure. But I believe in your talent, Emma. I think you deserve a chance." For a moment, Emma was speechless. She had never had someone believe in her like that before. She smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Liam. You don't know how much this means to me." He smiled back. "You've got this, Emma. I'm just helping you take the first step." Emma couldn't believe it. The card Liam had handed her felt like a lifeline, a door to a world she had always dreamed of but never thought she would step into. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked at the name and contact information printed on the card. She had seen those kinds of opportunities before, on TV or in magazines, but never up close. Never something that could be hers. She kept it in her purse for the next few days, not sure whether to reach out or not. After all, she had never been the kind of person who just accepted help, especially from someone who barely knew her. But each time she looked at the card, she couldn't shake the thought. What if this was her chance? That Saturday, after finishing her shift, Emma stood at the diner door, the cool evening air brushing against her face. She had decided to take the plunge. She pulled out Liam's card, staring at it for a long moment before pulling out her phone. With a deep breath, she dialed the number. When a man answered, Emma hesitated for just a second. "Hello, is this Thomas?" she asked, her voice wavering slightly. "Yes, this is Thomas," came the friendly voice on the other end. "How can I help you?" "My name is Emma Brooks," she said, the words feeling strange to say. "I was given your contact information by Liam Parker. He said you could help me with my dream of opening an art studio." There was a brief pause on the other end. Emma's heart raced as she waited for his response. "Liam Parker? Of course. He's told me about you. He mentioned you have a real talent for art. I'd be happy to help you. Emma let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It felt almost too easy, like it was all happening too fast. Really? She asked, still in disbelief. Yes, really, Thomas replied. Liam spoke highly of you, and I trust his judgment. Why don't you come by my office on Monday? We can talk about how we can get started. Monday came quickly, and Emma found herself standing in front of a sleek, modern building in the city. It was nothing like the diner she worked at. No chipped paint, no cheap furniture, just polished floors and glass walls. She walked inside, her heels clicking against the marble floor, feeling out of place but determined. The receptionist greeted her with a warm smile, and after a few minutes, she was escorted to Thomas's office. He stood up as she entered, offering a firm handshake. Emma, it's good to meet you, he said, his smile genuine. Please, have a seat. Let's talk about your art and what you envision for your studio. As they sat down, Emma couldn't help but feel a wave of nervousness wash over her. She had always dreamed of this moment, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure where to start. Thomas seemed to sense her hesitation and smiled reassuringly. Take your time. Just tell me what you want to do. I'm here to help make it happen. Emma took a deep breath and began to talk. She told him about her love for painting, how she had always felt that art was a way to express the emotions she couldn't put into words. She explained her vision for the studio, a place where artists could come together to create and share their work. She told him about the struggles she had faced, working long hours at the diner and dreaming of a future where she could make a living doing what she loved. Thomas listened intently, nodding along. When she finished, he smiled. I think we can make this happen, Emma. I have some resources that could help get your studio off the ground. And Liam's backing you, so you've got support. Emma couldn't believe it. She had never imagined that her life could change this quickly. She felt a mix of excitement and fear. Fear that she might fail, fear that this opportunity might slip away. But she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't let this moment pass her by. Thank you, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything, Thomas replied. Just trust yourself. You have the talent, and that's the most important part. Over the next few weeks, Emma worked closely with Thomas to secure the space for her art studio. She spent hours drawing up plans, meeting with contractors, and figuring out how she could turn her dream into a reality. And throughout it all, Liam checked in with her, offering encouragement and advice. One evening, as she sat at her small desk, looking over the final blueprints for the studio, Emma felt a sense of calm settle over her. This was real. She was doing it. She was no longer just a waitress dreaming of something more. She was an artist, making her dream come true. Emma spent the next few weeks in a whirlwind of activity, balancing her work at the diner with the preparations for her new art studio. The space Thomas helped her secure was finally starting to take shape, with fresh coats of paint, new lighting, and her vision slowly coming to life. She spent hours there every evening, sketching new designs, planning out classes, and imagining what it would be like to finally open the doors to her dream. Yet, despite all the excitement, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was still out of her depth. Her mind kept replaying those first few conversations with Liam, how he had encouraged her to take the plunge, to believe in herself. She hadn't realized just how much she needed to hear that until now. One evening, as she cleaned up her supplies and prepared to head home, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. Hey Emma, I know things have been crazy, but I wanted to check in. How are things going with the studio? She smiled as she typed back. It's going really well, actually. It's been a lot of work, but I'm finally seeing it all come together. I think it might actually happen. A few moments later, Liam's response came through. I'm really proud of you. I know it's been tough, but you've made it this far. Keep pushing. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest as she read his words. He had been so supportive from the beginning, and even now, his encouragement felt like a steady hand guiding her through this uncertain time. Thanks, Liam. I honestly don't know what I would have done without your help. You've really given me the confidence to keep going. She paused before sending the message, unsure if she was saying too much. But then, she decided that honesty was the best policy. I'm glad we met, she added, her fingers hesitating over the keyboard. I didn't expect any of this to happen, but you've made such a difference in my life. She pressed send before she could second-guess herself. The response came quickly. Me too, Emma. I'm glad we met, too. And I'm excited to see where this takes you. If you ever need anything, I'm here. Emma put her phone down with a soft smile, feeling a mixture of gratitude and warmth. She hadn't realized how much she had come to rely on Liam, not just as a mentor, but as a friend. The next morning, Emma arrived at the studio early to meet with the contractors. As she walked inside, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the transformation. The space was more than just a building now. It was a place where her dreams were coming to life. The walls were covered with her sketches, and the floor had been cleared to make room for the first set of classes. It was happening. The grand opening was only a few weeks away, and though there were still many details to iron out, Emma felt more ready than ever. Later that afternoon, as she sat in her small apartment, she reflected on how far she had come. From the days of struggling to pay rent and dreaming of something more, to now, where she was standing on the brink of something incredible. She couldn't believe how much her life had changed in just a few short months. Just then, her phone buzzed again. It was another message from Liam. "I was thinking about you today. I know you're about to open the studio, and I wanted to offer my help in any way I can. I have some connections who might be able to help with marketing or bringing in more students. I'd love to see you succeed." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't believe how thoughtful he was, always going above and beyond to help her succeed. She typed back, her fingers trembling with excitement. "That would be amazing, Liam. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you're willing to help." "Of course," he replied. "I believe in you, Emma, and I know you're going to make this studio something special." As Emma sat back, a sense of peace settled over her. She wasn't sure where this journey would take her, but with Liam's support and her own determination, she knew she was on the right path. The studio was going to open soon, and Emma was ready to take the next step in making her dreams a reality. The days leading up to the grand opening of Emma's art studio were a blur of excitement and nervousness. She had worked tirelessly, making sure everything was perfect. The walls were adorned with her paintings, the floors polished, and the shelves filled with art supplies. She had even arranged for some local artists to showcase their work alongside her own. It was everything she had ever dreamed of, and yet, standing in the center of the room, she felt a surge of doubt. What if no one showed up? What if it all fell apart? Her phone buzzed, breaking her train of thought. It was a message from Liam. "Hey Emma, just checking in. How are the final preparations going for the studio?" Emma smiled as she typed her response. "It's all coming together, but I'm getting a little nervous. I just want everything to go well." "You've got this," Liam replied instantly. "I believe in you. You've worked hard for this moment, and I know it will be a success." Emma sat back in her chair, feeling comforted by his words. It wasn't just the physical space she had built, it was the emotional support Liam had given her. He had been there for her since the beginning, always encouraging her, always believing in her potential. It was hard to imagine where she would be without him. The night before the opening, Emma couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in her bed, her mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. The studio was her dream, but it felt so much bigger than that now. It wasn't just a place to create art. It was a place to belong, to find a community, to make a difference. She had been so focused on the technical details that she hadn't really considered how much this moment meant to her personally. This was her chance to prove that she could build something meaningful, something that could change her life and the lives of others. The next morning, Emma arrived at the studio early to make sure everything was in place. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a soft, golden light through the large windows. She took a deep breath, letting the quiet of the space calm her nerves. Today was the day. The doorbell jingled as the first guests arrived. Emma greeted them with a warm smile, but her heart was pounding. As the hours went by, more people came in, admiring her work, asking about her story, and signing up for classes. It was everything she had hoped for and more. By the time the event was winding down, Emma was exhausted but elated. She had done it. Her dream had come true, and it was just the beginning. As the last guest left, Liam walked in, looking just as handsome and composed as always. He smiled when he saw her. "How's it going?" he asked, his voice calm but warm. Emma beamed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's amazing," she said, "better than I could have ever imagined." Liam nodded, clearly pleased. "I knew you could do it." He looked around the room for a moment, taking in the vibrant atmosphere Emma had created. "You've really built something special here." Emma's heart swelled at his words. "Thank you," she said softly. "I couldn't have done it without your support." Liam smiled, his eyes meeting hers. I'm just happy to see you succeed. There was a brief silence before he spoke again. You know, I've been thinking. Emma raised an eyebrow, curious. About what? About how much you've changed since we first met, Liam said. When we met, you were unsure of yourself, not sure if you could take that leap. But now look at you. You've built something incredible, and I have no doubt this is just the beginning. Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't realized how far she had come, how much she had grown. She had always been the kind of person who doubted herself, who played it safe. But now, standing in her own art studio, surrounded by people who appreciated her work, she realized just how much she had accomplished. Thank you, Liam, she said, her voice thick with emotion. For everything. Liam smiled again, his expression softening. You don't need to thank me, Emma. You did all the hard work. I just gave you a little push. Emma nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude toward him. He had believed in her from the start, and now, looking at the studio, she could finally believe in herself. As they stood there, in the quiet of the newly opened studio, Emma realized that this was the beginning of something even bigger than she had imagined. It wasn't just about art or the studio. It was about her journey, her growth, and the unexpected friendship she had found in Liam. And maybe, just maybe, there was something more waiting for them both in the future. Weeks passed since the grand opening, and Emma's art studio was thriving. Every day, more students enrolled, more paintings sold, and the buzz around town about her unique space grew louder. She could hardly believe how quickly everything had come together. The studio had become a hub for artists of all kinds, and Emma was finally living the dream she had so desperately wanted. Despite the success, there was one thing that weighed on her heart. She had been spending so much time focused on her business and her passion for art that she hadn't allowed herself to think much about Liam. He had been such a constant source of support throughout her journey, but she realized she hadn't spent much time with him outside of their professional connection. The more she thought about it, the more she realized how much he meant to her. It wasn't just about the help he had given her with the studio. There was something more. Emma hadn't expected to develop feelings for him, but there it was. She had always admired how kind, patient, and genuine he was. He had been the first person to truly believe in her, and he had never once treated her like she was beneath him. But now, with the success of the studio in full swing, she was starting to wonder if she should take a step back and explore the possibility of something more between them. One afternoon, after a long day of teaching a painting class, Emma found herself sitting in the small office at the back of the studio, scrolling through some emails. Her phone buzzed on the desk, and she picked it up to see a message from Liam. Hey Emma, I was thinking of stopping by the studio tomorrow. I have a small surprise for you. A surprise? Emma's heart skipped a beat as she wondered what it could be. It had been a while since they had had a chance to catch up outside of the studio, and the thought of seeing him made her smile. She quickly typed a response. I'd love that. I'll be here all day, so feel free to stop by any time. The next day, as Emma was setting up the studio for an evening class, she heard the familiar jingle of the doorbell. She looked up to see Liam walking in, carrying a large canvas wrapped in brown paper. Hey, Emma, he said, his smile warm. I thought I'd bring you something special. Emma's curiosity piqued as she stood up to greet him. What's this? She asked, her eyes wide with interest. Liam grinned and carefully unwrapped the canvas, revealing a beautiful painting of the studio. It was a vibrant depiction of the front of the building, the windows glowing with warm light, and the sign for the studio clearly visible in the background. I wanted to give you something to remember this moment, Liam said, his voice soft. You've come so far, and I'm proud of you. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she took in the painting. It was stunning, and it captured everything she loved about the studio. Its warmth, its creativity, and the sense of community it had created. Liam, this is amazing, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much. Liam stepped closer, his gaze meeting hers. You deserve it, Emma. I've watched you work so hard to make this dream a reality. You've created something beautiful, and I just wanted to remind you of that. Emma felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had always been so focused on achieving her goals that she hadn't taken the time to appreciate how far she had come. This painting was more than just a piece of art. It was a reminder of her journey, of everything she had overcome to get to this point. As they stood there, the warmth of the moment settled around them. Emma couldn't help but feel the pull between them, a connection that had always been there, but now seemed stronger than ever. She realized that, for the first time in a long time, she wasn't just thinking about the future of her business. She was thinking about the possibility of a future with Liam. He had supported her through everything, and maybe, just maybe, it was time for her to open her heart to the possibility of something more. Liam, she began, her voice soft but steady, I've been thinking a lot lately. About everything we've been through, and everything you've done for me. Liam raised an eyebrow, his expression curious. What do you mean? Emma took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. I can't help but feel like there's something more here. Not just between us professionally, but personally. I've developed feelings for you, Liam. There was a long pause as Liam studied her, his expression unreadable. Emma's heart raced, unsure of what he would say next. Finally, he smiled, and his eyes softened. I've been feeling the same way, Emma. I wasn't sure if you felt the same, but I've been thinking about you a lot lately. Emma's heart fluttered as she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. So what does that mean for us? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam stepped closer, his hand reaching out to gently take hers. It means that I'd like to explore this. Whatever it is. I'm ready if you are. Emma spent the following weeks in a haze of new beginnings. Her art studio was flourishing, more successful than she ever expected, and yet, something in the back of her mind kept her from fully relaxing. She had always been determined to make it on her own, but now that everything was falling into place, she found herself thinking more and more about Liam and their future. She couldn't ignore the growing feelings she had for him, and it seemed like he felt the same. The connection between them felt undeniable, but part of her was still scared. What if her past insecurities were too much for him to handle? What if they were better off as friends and business partners? Her mind raced with these thoughts as she sat alone in her apartment, staring out the window at the city lights below. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. Hey Emma, I know things have been busy, but I was wondering if you'd like to meet me for dinner tonight. I want to talk about something. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had a feeling she knew what this was about. Taking a deep breath, she typed back. I'd love to. What time? Liam replied almost instantly. How about 7? I'll pick you up. As the evening approached, Emma found herself both excited and nervous. She had no idea what Liam wanted to talk about, but the idea of spending more time with him felt like a step in the right direction. When he arrived at her apartment to pick her up, she could see the warmth in his eyes, but there was something else there too. Something that made her heart race with anticipation. You look amazing, he said, smiling at her as she stepped outside. Emma smiled back, feeling a blush creep up her neck. Thank you. You clean up well yourself. Liam chuckled and opened the door for her. I'm glad we're doing this, Emma, he said, his voice sincere. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. Emma's curiosity piqued. What have you been thinking about? Liam took a deep breath as he started the car. I've been thinking about us. About what we've built together, both professionally and personally. I want you to know that I'm here for you, Emma, in every way. I'm not just talking about supporting your business. I want to be there for you, for everything. Emma's heart fluttered. His words were more than she had ever expected. She had always admired his sincerity, but now it felt like there was more to it. She turned to look at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam, I feel the same way. But I'm scared. I've been on my own for so long. I don't know how to let someone in. Liam reached over and took her hand in his. I get that. I know what it's like to be afraid of opening up, to be afraid of losing control. But Emma, you don't have to do it alone. I want to be there for you, in whatever way you need. The words settled in her heart like a soft embrace. She had never been one to rely on others, but with Liam, it felt different. She felt safe, understood, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could truly trust someone. As they arrived at the restaurant, Emma couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. No matter what the future held, she knew that she had someone by her side who cared about her, who believed in her. Liam was right. She didn't have to do it all on her own. Over dinner, they talked more about their future, about their dreams and hopes, and Emma found herself smiling more than she had in a long time. It wasn't just the success of the studio that was making her happy. It was the possibility of something deeper with Liam. By the time dinner was over, Emma realized that she had been holding back her own happiness. She had spent so much time protecting herself that she had forgotten how to open up and let someone else in. But with Liam, it was different. She was ready to take that leap of faith. Liam, she said softly as they walked to the car, I want to be with you. I'm ready to see where this goes. Liam stopped and turned to face her, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of surprise and joy. You really mean that? He asked, his voice full of emotion. Emma nodded, her heart full. I do. I don't know where this will take us, but I want to try. Together. Liam smiled, pulling her close. That's all I need to hear. The next few months flew by, and Emma's life seemed to be falling into place more perfectly than she had ever imagined. The studio was thriving, her students were eager, and the local art community was beginning to recognize her as an up-and-coming talent. She had Liam by her side, and the connection between them continued to grow stronger with each passing day. They spent weekends exploring new places, laughing over casual dinners, and supporting each other in everything they did. Emma felt more alive than she had in years. One evening, after a long day at the studio, Emma sat at her desk, sorting through her finances and preparing for another busy week. The studio had been doing so well that she had started to think about expanding, maybe even offering more classes or collaborating with local artists for a gallery event. As she looked at the numbers and plans, she realized just how much Liam had contributed to this success. He had encouraged her to take risks, to trust herself, and to pursue what she loved. But it wasn't just his advice that had helped her succeed. It was his belief in her. He had always seen her potential, even when she had doubted herself. That night, after closing the studio, Emma received a call from Liam. Hey, Emma, how's the night going? He asked, his voice warm. It's going well, just getting through some paperwork, she replied, smiling at the sound of his voice. I was actually just thinking about you. Liam chuckled. In a good way, I hope. Definitely, she said, leaning back in her chair. I was thinking about everything we've been through and how far I've come. I don't know if I would have made it this far without you. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line, and then Liam spoke, his voice serious. Emma, you're the one who did all the work. I just gave you a little nudge. But you gave me more than that, she said, her voice full of emotion. You showed me that I could trust myself again, that I could take risks and not be afraid to fail. You made me believe in me. Liam's tone softened, and there was a brief pause before he spoke again. I've always believed in you, Emma. From the first moment we met, I saw something special in you. You're not just an artist. You're someone who has the power to change things, to make a difference. And I'm proud to be part of your journey. Emma felt a lump form in her throat as his words sank in. She had spent so much of her life feeling uncertain, wondering if she was enough, if she could ever truly achieve her dreams. But with Liam, she had learned to trust herself, to take those first steps, and now, everything seemed within reach. Liam, I don't know what to say, she whispered. You've made everything possible for me. You don't have to say anything, he replied gently. I just want you to know that I'm here for you. Always. A wave of warmth washed over Emma, and in that moment, she realized how much she had come to care for him, not just as a business partner or a mentor, but as someone she wanted to build a future with. She had never imagined that a chance meeting would lead to this, to a life where she wasn't just surviving, but thriving. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before speaking. Liam, I've been thinking a lot about us, too. About everything we've built together. And, he asked, his voice hopeful. And I want to see where this can go. Not just in business, but in everything. I want to take this journey with you, for real. There was a moment of silence before Liam spoke again, his voice filled with emotion. You mean that? I do, she said, her heart racing. I'm ready. Liam's response was immediate, filled with relief and happiness. I'm ready too, Emma. In that moment, Emma realized that all the struggles, all the doubt, had led her to this place, to this person. Liam was right. She had always been capable of more than she had ever realized. And now, with him by her side, she felt like there was nothing they couldn't accomplish together. The future seemed brighter than ever, and for the first time, Emma truly believed that everything she had worked for was only the beginning. Months passed, and Emma's life continued to transform in ways she had never imagined. Her art studio had become not just a place of creation, but a symbol of her journey. The classes were thriving, and the local community had embraced the space, with more artists joining every week. But amidst all the success, it was the growing connection with Liam that brought her the most joy. They had built something beautiful together, both professionally and personally. Liam was by her side every step of the way, not only as a partner in business, but as someone she could rely on, someone who had shown her what it meant to trust and be trusted. One evening, after a particularly busy day, Emma was sitting in her office, reviewing plans for an upcoming gallery event, when Liam walked in with a familiar, reassuring smile. "Got a minute?" he asked, his voice gentle. Emma looked up from her papers and smiled, her heart skipping a beat. "Of course," she said, setting the papers aside. "What's up?" Liam stepped closer, and for a moment, they just stood there, sharing a quiet, comfortable silence. "I've been thinking," he began, "about how much you've grown, about how much we've accomplished together." Emma's heart swelled with pride. "I can't believe how far we've come," she said softly. "I remember when I was still working at the diner, barely scraping by, wondering if I'd ever get the chance to do what I loved. And now, this studio, this life, it's everything I ever dreamed of." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. "You've worked hard for it, Emma. You've earned every bit of success." He paused for a moment, his expression softening. "But it's not just the studio. It's you. The person you've become. The person you were always meant to be." Emma felt a rush of emotion at his words, and before she could respond, Liam took a deep breath. "There's something I want to ask you, Emma." She looked at him, her curiosity piqued. "What is it?" Liam knelt down on one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket. Emma's breath caught in her throat as he opened it to reveal a simple, yet beautiful ring. "Emma, from the moment we met, I've seen the person you are, the person you've always been. You've shown me what it means to live with purpose, to believe in love and in possibilities. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, building something beautiful together. Will you marry me?" Emma's heart raced, and tears filled her eyes. She had never imagined this moment, but standing there, with Liam's love and support surrounding her, she knew that this was the next step in their journey together. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I'll marry you." Liam smiled, his face lighting up with joy as he slid the ring onto her finger. They embraced, the warmth of the moment wrapping around them like a dream. In that moment, Emma realized that everything she had ever wanted, love, success, and the courage to pursue her dreams, had come to her because she had opened herself to possibilities. With Liam by her side, she felt ready to face whatever the future held. As they stood there, holding each other, Emma knew that their story was just beginning. Together, they would continue to build a life filled with love, passion, and the pursuit of their dreams. And for the first time, Emma truly believed that anything was possible.